What was my release like? The day of my release, the lead up to my release, me being released from prison. Well, leading up to the release, a couple of week or so prior, they, pull you out, they ask you a few questions. If you're going to have a ride, blah, 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 do you need to get a bus ticket? They also, like, depending on your money situation, they'll give you, like, I want to say, like, a debit card with, like, $50 on it or something. Can't leave you completely empty handed and stranded coming out of prison. They have to give you something, I guess, according to laws. So you get stuff like that. Leading up to it, though, the morning of my release, so I was at the annex at Swanee and I worked in the kitchen for breakfast. And so a thing about the breakfast call, especially working in the kitchen, you get called. It's like 2 a.m. or something when you get called. They start doing breakfast at like 4. So you get there, you start prepping, you start getting things made, and people start coming in. So they call at 2 a.m. for like work call. And I get up and I go up to the booth for the dorm at the annex that I'm at the time at Swanee CI. And I ask the officer, I say, hey, I'm, supposed to be released today. Like, I don't know what's exactly happening. Do I go to work? Do I not go to work? What do I do? He just looks at me and says, go to work. Just go to work. I was like, all right, cool. I ain't even going to argue. I go to the kitchen, follow through, start doing the same old. Talking to a few guys I know, they know I'm supposed to get out that day. They're like, they ain't called you? What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I was just told to go to work, and I'm coming here. I'm like, all right, shit, whatever. Things are happening. I asked one of the COs in the kitchen after a little bit of being there, 45 minutes, we're all kind of settled into our groove. And I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to be released today. I'm just kind of wondering what's going on with that. And he went into like his little office they got in the kitchen. It's got like a little computer shit on it and everything. Ain't nothing special. But he looks and he's like, yeah, we got you for a release date today. They'll call you, I'm sure. So I am sitting there prepping breakfast, kind of nervous, like kind of wondering, looking around like, man, I guess they gotta let me go by like midnight tonight. They gotta let me go, right? The paperwork, everything says I gotta be out today. I know it's the right date. Like they gotta let me go. And finally, fast forward a few hours, they call. I didn't even hear it. The CO just calls my name, tells me I'm supposed to go back to my dorm. Boom. I make my move. I start heading back to the dorm. I get there. They let me in. They tell me, roll up my mat, get all my stuff, my bedroll, don't give anything away, blah, blah, blah. They don't want you giving shit out extra, whatever. Enough people already get it, I guess. So I start rolling up. There's very few people in the dorm, a handful of people, but not many. One of the things about prison is it's not like county in a sense of like a lot of times you're stationary or sitting. Like once you're in prison and doing like you always have a job. There's very few people just sitting around doing nothing all day. Like there's always something you're supposed to be going and doing, like a job, a little whatever the fuck. So there was the common room, the dorm's pretty empty when I'm rolling up. It's a little after breakfast at this point. And I remember one of the guys from the dorm comes up. He sees me rolling up. He's like, "You out? What are you doing?" He's like, "They moving you?" I was like, "I'm being released." He's like, "Really?" Like he didn't even know I was being released, and I kind of kept it quiet because, like, I don't know. I think it's strange. Like they release people from the annex at Swanee, or at least they did then. And it was like the annex was where like the real harder prisoners were. So it's like it's really weird that they would like release people from there. Like they're putting you right when you're about to get out next to like some of the hardest people. And yeah, it's kind of a strange little thing they do. And I was like, no, it was my date. And he's like, oh man, well, okay, whatever. And that was kind of a weird little exchange, but I left it at that. And I roll up, I get the fuck out of there. I start making my way across the prison yard and everything. I'm with an officer. They walk me over to a spot. I walk into a like vestibule area, waiting room area for like inmates. If you know, you know what I'm talking about a little bit. It's just like an empty area with like a room that's lined with like a bench and like a glass window with like a booth lady in there. She takes my ID. She has me sign a piece of paper. She tells me to wait. Let me tell you, that was a wait. I mean, after sitting in prison, after everything, it's today. The day's the day you're there. They've called you, and you're sitting there in this room just waiting You don't even know what for, I guess, whatever. You're just waiting. And I remember I waited probably 20 minutes or so and was just like really anxious and nervous because I was getting out. I was like, oh my God, I'm actually getting out right now. I'm getting out. And I started doing push ups because I didn't know what else to do. So I started doing push ups. And I don't know how long I was there for, but it was long enough to do like 400 push ups. And I was catching like sets of like 25. I wasn't going like crazy, crazy. I was just busting them out. And I did, for real, I knocked that out. And I was like, man, like, and they finally called me through. And I walked through, still had my blues on and everything. They handed me like a white t-shirt, some khaki pants, and like a fresh pair of Crocs socks, boxers. Told me to change. I'd go into like a little changing area. It's got like stalls, kind of almost. And I change up into these khaki pants, these Crocs and socks, this white t-shirt. And they start talking to me, telling me conditions of my release, like I don't have any probation or anything like that, blah blah blah. There's no contact orders. They just start telling you all of these things because they legally have to when they're letting you go, because if you have any probation or any no contact orders, they can't say, they never told you. Like, they have to by law be like, we told him one time right on his way out, like he knows. So I didn't have any of that. I didn't have any, like, there was nothing crazy. I turned myself in. I didn't take any probation after that. Like, I was doing my time and done. And obviously, I wasn't like a violent offender. I didn't beat up some chick or something. So I didn't have like any no contacts or any bullshit like that. And they give you. Oh, no. They didn't give me the card yet. No. So, yeah, this is kind of actually, now that I'm thinking about it, this is kind of a crazy thing. So, yeah, I finished that out. I signed some paperwork. They tell me like these conditions, that there aren't none, blah, blah, blah. Just kind of go over some basic stuff. And then I'm cuffed and shackled. There's a few other guys that are getting out there now at this point that I'm around that are getting cuffed and shackled. They're in the same kind of get up I am now. White t-shirt, khaki pants, some Crocs. And we hop in the back of a van. They escort us out and hop us in the back of a van. And we drive 15 minutes or so, whatever it is, into Live Oak, Florida, to the Greyhound station. And they they like let us all out. We shuffle out with the shackles on. And then they uncuff us and unshackle us. Like, unhook us all. And the CO stays there and he says, you can't leave the property. I have to see you get on the Greyhound bus. He then hands everybody their debit card. And I think all the pens were like, all the pens are like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 0, 0, 0, 0. Like, there's no, like, it's all preset, like it was, at least. It was just a very, like, it's already set. There's money on it. It doesn't need anything. It has like $50. That way you got something. And, yeah, we sat there. I stood there for about 15 minutes doing nothing. The CO stands there. You just can't leave the property. You have to get on the bus. And as the bus was pulling up and getting ready to start letting people on, he tells us that we have to stay on the bus until we are out of the county. And at that point, we are officially released. So I guess up to that point, by law, we technically haven't been released. So I jump on the bus and I'm like, yeah, fuck this county, ain't never coming back anyway. So no worries there. And the bus rides off. And it was a pretty cool experience, actually, I guess. It was pretty surreal, pretty exciting. My adrenaline was pumping. Like, just jumping on a bus. And obviously I was on a bus heading a certain way. Others were heading other ways. So I was like the only one from like an inmate getting on that bus. And I was heading back to Pinellas County. And it was just weird. Going from like literally just a few, like I was in prison, locked up. I'm the scum of the earth. I'm a fucking piece of shit. I'm a number. I'm nobody. I'm a fucking convicted felon. Fucking fuck. And all of a sudden you're on a Greyhound bus and you're free. And I remember sitting there. I remember just looking around, and I remember specifically like this mom and her daughter. Who knows where they were going, where they were coming from. I just remember she was goofing around, just being a little kid fidgeting, and like the mom was just being a mom and telling her to settle down a little bit. And I was just sitting there thinking to myself, like, oh my God, like, I'm not in fucking prison anymore. I'm actually not in fucking prison anymore. And, yeah, that was a pretty surreal experience. I remember we stopped at a few different stops. Obviously, it's a Greyhound, so it stops every hour somewhere, you know. And funny enough, I didn't smoke a cigarette the whole time I was in prison. I obviously smoked before, and we stopped somewhere, and we're at somewhere, and this guy pulled out a pack of Newports, started smoking a cigarette, you know. And I didn't smoke a cigarette the whole time I was in prison. Worked out, did great. Fucking went up and asked him for a cigarette and got one. Smoked about half of it, got lightheaded as fuck off a Newport. Like, if you know, you get kind of high off of one, especially if you haven't had one in a long time. You get super lightheaded for a second. Like, woo. And, yeah. By that night, I was back in St. Pete, Florida, in Pinellas County. Dropped off downtown. And I remember it was like just starting to get dark, so it was probably about 7 o'clock or so, about similar time to what it is right now. The sun's getting ready to go down. It's about 6 o'clock right now, so it's probably a little later, 7. And I remember just getting off at the downtown station, and yeah, I was free in downtown St. Pete when that morning I was just not in prison, and yeah, it was an interesting experience. And I remember being downtown at the Greyhound station, and that station's actually closed now. And I walked over to Williams Park, and I remember it completely changed. Williams Park was pretty rough before I had been there when I'd like gone to prison, and getting out, I went there to catch a bus, and it would like really cleaned up a little bit. And yeah, I caught a bus. I went to the homeless shelter next to the county jail and started my life. And that was me getting out of prison. That was the day I got out. That was what it was like being released from prison.